Hello my friends and welcome to episode 55. The deployment episode for Battle of the Ebro? I think so. Ebro, maybe? Right, so this is the first defensive mission, probably the first truly defensive mission that is in Panzer Corps 2, actually, because a lot of defensive missions, it's a case of blunting the enemy's attack and then going on the offensive and capturing or destroying all of their units and clearing the map. That's what typically happens. Now, in Spanish Civil War, you have these sealed off fortified areas where it is possible for enemy reinforcements to spawn, which means that you could be on the defensive for the whole engagement, because reinforcements could just constantly turn up. Okay, so we're meant to protect this river. We have one capture point on the wrong side of the river, and you know, assessing this, the enemy has different levels of units in the vicinity of each possible crossing. And I too have different levels of units in the vicinity of each area of crossing. Now, what I would say is you don't have enough information here to actually make good decisions, but you can try to get it. So, examining the river, there's only one possible engagement point here. So if you only have one possible engagement point, then that is a very secure position. That's going to require artillery, air support, the full works to get past. So we don't really have to worry about this crossing. Here we have 2 points of engagement and one bypass. So what I mean by a bypass is a tile that you can get to on your next turn to bypass the defender. So there's no bypass here. There would potentially be a bypass on this tile, but there's an anti-tank gun there, so there isn't one. Now here, this is a potential bypass. Some bridges work that you can only go through and across, and some will let you actually bypass. So we have 2 points of engagement here and a potential one bypass. Now, considering that there is some artillery here and some infantry, although the infantry does appear to be outnumbered, we can expect this to hold, but if the enemy gets any reinforcements, then they will eventually be able to break this, maybe in 1 or 2 turns. Next, we have a city here with 3 potential points of entry and a bypass. So this is going to be easy to break. We need to concern ourselves with this pretty much immediately, because 3 groups of infantry, and they wouldn't even have to be engineers potentially, because these guys are not entrenched. 3 groups of infantry, here, here, and here, should be able to dislodge this guy. And also, if there's infantry here, if they move to the bypass position, and that 100% is a bypass because there's a road there, then this guy will also be surrounded. So this is a very easy to break point, and we're going to have to do something about it pretty much immediately. Even though there's some infantry here. This could be made more secure by taking this infantry and moving it here, but this still leaves 3 angles of attack on this city. So that should be pretty easy to break. Next we have, we're on the wrong side of the river here. We have 2 angles of attack and 1 bypass. However, there is an anti-tank gun in the forest here zogging this position, but without any entrenchment, this infantry is going to pull it apart pretty quickly. This cannot be expected to collapse as quickly as this will, because there's only 2 angles of attack. But it's still a big concern, especially considering that we have 2 sets of artillery on the hills here. Meaning that this position is actually untenable and will fall probably pretty quickly. All they've got to do is they've got to suppress this, and this infantry destroy this. Then they've got to suppress this, and this infantry could come in and destroy this. So once again, we have a serious defensive issue here that needs addressing immediately. Next, we have 2 angles of attack here on an infantry, no bypass. This is a pretty solid position. Artillery is going to be required to punch through this, and there is one available on the hills nearby. So this is a moderate priority defense, but nothing that can't hold for a few turns. And this artillery is actually shared between this position and this position. This position has got three angles of attack, so this one could fall very quickly. And with the potential of these 2 artillery and these 2 infantry all supporting a bust through here, we need to address this position ASAP. So here, here, and here, so far, are in danger. Now here, we have no defenders at all. This is by far the worst position. We have an anti-tank gun in the city rather than infantry, which means that this is going to be very easy to kill with infantry. Totally exposed backup infantry on the bridge here. Artillery support, including 15 centimeter. And a bypass that's just totally clear. So this is going to be our #1 priority, to move in here. And finally we have 2 angles of attack and a bypass here. But 2 potential bypasses, but this anti-tank gun is here. But this is a well-defended position with this infantry here and this anti-tank gun supporting it. Additionally, there's infantry here in a very exposed position, but because they're in forest, vehicles are going to struggle to do any real damage to them. And they should be able to hold the position at least for a few turns so these guys can get entrenched. We do have a reinforcement regular unit that's going to come up this way most likely, further reinforcing that position. Okay, so having assessed our front line, we realize that we have a problem here, 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 and very much here. And this is the one that we have to address first, then this second. This can be expected to hold, and this can also be expected to hold. Now, onto the deployment. Let's do my replacements. Okay, alright. So it appears that I can deploy pretty close to this endangered position down here. And I can also deploy right up front on this endangered position here. And I can also deploy reasonably close to this endangered position here. I need 3 force groups to immediately reinforce these 3 positions. So, to that end, I'm going to use one of my upgrades and switch this out for an 8.8. Then we're going to hold one 8.8 down here, one up here, and one down here. I believe I also received a rapid deployment hero. That could be very useful. Right. To support those positions, I'm going to need artillery. That means bringing out my other 15 centimeter from reserve. I have 3 positions I need to reinforce, so I need 3 sets of units. Let's go with field repairs, and then we'll add fast deployment for this guy. Give him a camo so we know that he's special. And I'm deploying my hero units, not that I have great heroes or anything, but I'm deploying my hero units in the center area, where they can most quickly respond to the enemy. So if this starts to collapse, then I can move them up here, and if this starts to collapse, well, they're already there, and if I'm suffering with a problem down here, I can then move down here. So I'm deliberately putting my best units in the center, where then I'm guaranteeing myself the shortest distance to get them to the front line. Okay. Artillery here. These two positions are actually quite close to each other, but they will diverge when this group goes up here to reinforce this area, or this group pushes here to reinforce here, and this group pushes down to reinforce this area, whereas this group will be cutting in here and then potentially going up here. We're not going to worry about this section, and we're not going to worry about this section, because in our assessment we know that these areas should be able to hold. And we can provide air support to them if needed. Alright. The next step, of course, one recon car for each area. I'm going to put this recon car here because we have this bumpy terrain, and recon cars are not very good at handling that. But here on the road, they should be able to just go flying down the road. Okay, we're going to give each task group a T-26. Right, now, what do we do with the infantry hose tank and our generalist? Probably safest to put the generalist right in the center of the map, where we can immediately mobilize him to where he's required. Looking at the enemy, the infantry that I can see is mostly concentrated here, but we do have poor vision, so I'm potentially considering, in fact I'm going to place the infantry hose tank here and have it drive straight down the road towards the enemy. Right, now what is pretty important to us is that we're dealing with a wide area and we can't really see what's going on. So first things first, just going to check the slot count here. I believe it's just the one. And these require 3. We're going to fold the Strat Bomber into our midst. And roll an additional Strat Bomber. Because they're cheap, and I can use them to harass the enemy. Okay, this airport is too endangered. I'm not sure if I am going to be able to defend it in time. Plus, if there are enemies here, they would just, you know, anti-aircraft guns or whatever, they would do some real hurt to my air force here. So, I'm going to take this middle airport. These two tanks are going to be racing down the road here. This is pretty secure, so I'm going to just place my birds right in the center of the map. In fact, we'll put our main fighter in the center here. Okay, and that leaves me with 2 Strat Bombers. We have one relatively secure airport here and one relatively secure airport up here. But we also have a second airport here, and I think this is the correct place to deploy, right in the middle where I can defend them. Now, what I really need is eyes. So we have a new scout plane here. No, it's not even a scout plane. It's actually... it is actually a tactical that costs 1 slot. But we do have auxiliary scout. A new one, I think. This one. Let's add 4 of these to basket. And also... what is the difference here? Slightly better initiative. This guy's got slightly better range. Okay. Let's actually, let's overstrengthen these. Fighters really do benefit from overstrength. Oops. Oh well, whatever. I'll deploy these now. These scout planes, if they get lost, it's, you know, it's whatever. I need to see what is going on. I think from this position will probably be better. Okay, and I'm gonna need some fire support, extra fire support. Okay. This should hopefully give me what I need to very quickly get eyes on the situation. That leaves me with 3 slots, which I'm not really sure what to do with. We could get another fighter, or we could just simply hold on to the slots. We have supply hexes available here, so we could deploy additional units as needed, as required. So I have a reasonably solid Italian tanks to choose from. Let's just add another fire. Can't have too many fires in a situation like this. With so many exposed enemies everywhere, fighters can be kept busy hosing enemy infantry if they've got nothing better to be doing. Okay, that is it for now. Deployment complete. Hopefully we have the tools we need to see what's going on so that we can make better decisions about our defense. But for the moment, I'm just deploying on the information I see here. We've identified the weaknesses in the defense, and we need to get on shoring them up as soon as possible. Now, we don't know. There could be a giant squad of artillery and tanks here, and they could push here. We could be totally wrong. But hopefully, with this setup, we're going to be able to find out whether we are wrong or not as quickly as possible with our scout planes. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.